Let me start this off with a confession. I tend to start video games and then leave them to play something else. Countless games have been just left off spawn. Fable, Diablo 4, Fallout 3 and so many others, but Resident Evil 4 was not one of those. The second I picked it up as a wee lad, I just couldn't put it down. Only a few other games have managed to keep me interested for that long. Resident Evil 4 is one of the most famous video games of all time, starring Leon Sex Kennedy and Ashley Graham as they journey to kill as many Spanish people as humanly possible. A certified Capcom classic, it released in ye old 2005. It's only a few months older than myself. Directed by Resident Evil powerhouse Shinji Mikami and composed by Misao Senbongi and Shusaku Uchiyama. I'm so sorry for butchering that. It changed the Resident Evil formula, almost irreparably, for several years until the release of Resident Evil 7. It strayed far from horror and became an action game. The prototype for the game actually turned into the first Devil May Cry game. The game re-released on almost every single platform, including on VR, and very recently got a remake. I personally love Resident Evil 4 and its beautiful cast. It continues the plot of Resident Evil 2 and follows Leon as he cuts down swathes of infected Spaniards. Resident Evil 4 is the fourth game in the series, if you can believe that, and it is to this day the only Resident Evil I have ever completed. I'm at the Locust bit of 7, haven't killed Dimitrescu in 8, I'm in the sewers in the 2 remake, and every time I boot up the Resident Evil 3 remake, something comes up and I have to leave. Now, without further ado,
no thanks,
Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is a product of its time, and the limited gameplay shows that. There's a lack of stealth, but then again, no Resident Evil games to my knowledge have stealth. The movement is enjoyable and reflects Leon's training in the academy. You know, a little spin and he has prompts at times. Little things like ducking or fan favourite backflipping. The game at some points relies on QuickTime events or QTEs. QTEs are the bane of my very existence. I fucking hate QuickTime events with a burning passion of 1,000 Kratoses. This game also has some infamously terrible AI in Ashley. I have failed quite a few times thanks to her very existence breaking things for me. There was this one time that instead of running away from the guys in the evil water room, she ran at them and stood still for a solid 3 seconds. She was taken and I accidentally shot her flailing legs. My biggest gripe with the game is its aiming mechanics. Instead of being able to move and aim, you have to stand completely still. I like to headcanon that Leon was taught this at the Raccoon City Police Academy, and the crime rate is really high because every time an officer aims his gun, the criminal just runs away. In game, however, it is the most annoying thing ever, especially with the fast-moving bugs in the world's most annoying castle. The guns are a massive part of the game. As you progress, more and arguably better guns unlock. The bolt-action sniper gets replaced by the semi-auto, the shotgun with the striker, you get the idea. However, you can upgrade the guns too, so you have to make the decision. Do you upgrade your gun and hope another better gun doesn't unlock, or do you switch the gun up every 20 minutes? The best gun in the game without a doubt is the RPG. It insta-kills anything it touches except for bosses. With some bosses it just gets rid of that first phase, for example the Big Cheese. You shoot him with a rocket in the opening seconds of the fight and immediately he starts swinging around with his torso tentacles. This completely trivializes the final boss. It's actually quite funny. You shoot him once in his eye, then boom, he eats a rocket. Cutscene plays, Ada throws you a red rocket. Another eye shot and another rocket and you're on the hardest to control boat ever programmed. I do have to give this game a bit of a break though. It started a lot of trends in gaming and was a massive trailblazer. Not to mention my fifth favourite game ever. The leap from a starry-eyed rookie cop in Resident Evil 2 to a hardened mercenary doing jobs for the president is heartbreaking to see. From the second that music kicks in, the game is incredible. Leon is tasked with retrieving the president's daughter from a cult in a little Spanish town. As Leon begins to explore around, he finds an old Spanish man in his house mumbling to himself. Leon attempts to speak to him, but he's attacked by the man. Leon fights through some scattered villagers and frees a wolf caught in a bear trap until he finds the village square. There is a burning going on and it's the corpse of the 2 drivers that taxied Leon to the village. 2 good officers dead. Leon heroically cuts down the villagers, or hides in the bell tower until they all leave, and inquires about a potential bingo game. His thoughts now completely focused on that bingo game. finds a dashing Spaniard named Luis Serra on the way. He single-mindedly slashes through several different encounters, killing all manner of infected creatures, like that cow I didn't think it would let me kill. He also runs into a mysterious man who sells him guns and upgrades, always illuminated by mysterious blue flames. He fights a giant infected fish, Del Lago, and soon after fights a certified giant, El Gigante. He finally reaches the previously locked-off church. He solves a small little puzzle and finds a very scared Ashley Graham, the president's daughter. They leave the church to a horde of infected and the ever-nefarious Dr. Salvador, the chainsaw guy. They return to another previously locked door before finding Luis Serra in a cabin. They fight through more hordes of infected, and it really makes you wonder what the population of this town is. They leave the cabin and head to yet another Gigante, and then another Gigante. They hurry around a bit until they reach some cable cars, which they traverse with ease, and Leon faces and kills the big cheese, the man himself, Torres Mendez, and takes his eye as a fitting prize. It's a really shit prize. He uses the eye to open a door and crashes a truck. He enters the best and worst castle in gaming, both at the same time, and makes his merry way inside, but not before he does something over the top and ridiculous, like, I don't know, launching a fucking cannon at the entrance. Leon Skennedy, the man you are. As they enter, they are greeted by Ramon Salazar, a man who has a detachable right hand. In the lower levels of the castle, Leon finds and kills a Garrador, a blind enemy with claws that relies on sound. The Leon-Ashley pair enters a massive room called the Water Room, and fight roughly 1 million enemies before Ashley turns the crank and lets them get out of there. Leon and Ashley get separated, and Leon fights through grueling sewers, most likely giving him flashbacks to September 30th. He fights his way through the castle inside and out. He runs around in the maze like a hamster and chokes out Ada Wong, his manipulator/love of his life. He eventually gets reunited with Ashley, who has her own little adventure with some living armour after escaping a trap. They meet up again and traverse the staple of any castle, the Lava Room. No castle is complete without a room filled with boiling lava or magma. I'm not really sure. Either way, it's fucking ridiculous. They go on a fun little cart ride with each other to reach another part of this never-ending nightmare castle. Some weird shit happens with fake ceilings and giant drills and more living armour, and honestly, just thinking about it gives me a headache. After culling Spain's entire bug population, Leon faces off with a Verdugo, Salazar's detachable right hand, and kills it. Leon traverses another staple of a castle, the smaller lava room with chained-up giants. He once again goes on a bug-killing spree after the few that survived escaped his grasp. At this point, he doesn't even want to, it's just out of sheer boredom. He travels to an underground desert. I honestly start to lose the plot around here. He takes a minecart ride back to the castle. As he returns, he's chased by a 50-foot statue of Salazar, who is clearly compensating. He ascends a tower and drops the local populace to 0. Angered by the death of his favourite right hand, Salazar transforms into a giant nightmare creature and embeds himself in the ceiling. He is dispatched swiftly, leaving Leon to find Ada in a boat, willing to take him to the island. I forgot to mention, but both Ashley and Leon were infected by Las Plagas, and Luis died trying to get them a cure. That's the reason why they're going to the island, because the cure is there. It's probably incredibly confusing, so I do apologise. The island is heavily militarised, miniguns and army uniforms as far as the eye can see. This is most likely because of the influence of one Jack Krauser, a man Leon used to know. Leon runs through an old lab and fights the Regenerator, the scariest thing on Earth to a younger me. He operates a crane and rescues Ashley. They escape her holding and fight through an underground section, once again with lava. They fight on a truck, the slowest truck in the world, and ascend a cargo lift, and through more road until they crash. Leon finds Jack Krauser and begins to duel with him using their knives. Leon is losing until Ada saves him. Leon faces the world-famous laser hallway and backflips again. He wanders through the underground section of the new lab and finds some sort of train housing a heavily mutated beast. It looks like the Centaur from Fallout. Leon eventually puts the beast down and travels back to the outside of the island and into another mine. He climbs out of the mine and into some ruins where he has a final showdown with Krauser. Leon puts the man down like the dog he is. Krauser has willingly infected and used it to increase his own battle prowess, but at what cost? Leon enters what looks to be an active war zone as his escaped chopper flies around to help him. He travels through trenches and puts his life on the line, so much all here for naught, as the helicopter is blown out the air. He fights the prison yard and cures himself and Ashley of the Plagas. He faces Lord Osmond Sadler, father of Las Plagas, in an epic duel, attacking with construction equipment and rockets until he dies. The whole island is rigged to explode, so they only have 3 minutes to escape and they make it. Leon rejects Ashley's offer of overtime, and the game ends. Holy shit, is that really fucking 6 minutes long? Shit, I'm sorry. Leon Scott Kennedy is a deeply tragic character to me. He lost his future prospects and essentially his life in the events of Resident Evil 2, and it permanently traumatized him. We see him in later titles to struggle with alcohol. He pushes people away that weren't there for the event because it took over his life. He becomes the president's hired gun because of his expertise in killing, something that weighs on his conscience heavily. Why else would he undertake the mission if not a simple way to die? He seems genuinely unhappy in his self-loathing torture romp. I wonder why. Ashley Graham is a very interesting character to me. She seems to be a parallel of the Resident Evil 2 Leon. She's bright-eyed and optimistic even in her worst moments, and with complete faith in Leon and his skills. She flirts with Leon throughout the entire game, presumably for several reasons, but it shows her optimism. She obviously isn't the happiest she's ever been, but she's relieved that she's being rescued. Ada Wong, the femme fatale of the game. She helps Leon out in as many ways as she can and is thanked with his thick-ass hands choking her out. He's got yowie hands. Ada Wong is the second most decisive thing in the Resident Evil fanbase. The first of all is Resident Evil 5. She's manipulative and a known liar, but I believe she truly does, if not love, care for Leon, and that's why she helps him. Luis Serra is especially tragic just because he died. He wanted to help Leon, but he couldn't. He was a good man, just merely conflicted. The Big Cheese himself is the first proper boss that you fight, and as such he makes an impression. He is nothing but a puppet for the biggest cheese, Osmond Sadler. But Torres Mendez was the village chief before he was infected by the Plagas, and still sort of leads them. He used to teach children mathematics and literacy, however he stopped after his infection. Ramon Salazar is the charismatic head of the Salazar family, the Castellan, and he is the ruler of the Salazar castle. It's assumed that he has some form of rare haemophilia, whether it was genetic as his grandfather died of the very same thing. Salazar has a childlike personality but has a grudging respect for Leon. He voluntarily took the Plagas into his system to try and cure his illness, which obviously didn't work. Jack Krauser was a veteran of Umbrella's experiments thanks to the events of the Dark Side Chronicles. He couldn't recover after his injury and so sought out the undeniably evil Albert Wesker, who kitted it out with the Plagas and sent him to kill his former partner Leon. Osmond Sadler used to be the head researcher at Umbrella. He discovered the legend of the Plagas and found it. He ruled the small Spanish village as what is essentially a god. He was slain thanks to his hubris. The graphics do suffer thanks to the 2005 release, and the models do tend to be a little off. For example, when Leon frees the wolf from the bear trap, he doesn't actually even touch the trap, he just... I think he uses the force. However, this is made up for by the incredible sound design. Not only is the music excellent, but as you walk around the world, you can hear little ominous whispers, and it really hits when it wants to. Like the regenerator scene, their breathing, I'm sure has caused so much trauma for so many kids. God, the regenerators are scary, and the fucking Iron Maidens.
No thanks, bro.
Despite all of its flaws and its unfortunate datedness nowadays, it is still one of the best games ever made. It is definitely flawed, but my god is it historical. It's in my top 5 of all time. I rate it a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and please excuse my pronunciation of this. Aplasta el botón de suscripción si no quieres ser esclavizado por las plagas. I'm so sorry, any Spanish people.